And I know like most of this is online, but I guess just to start, I wanted to run through to make sure I have all the facts about you right.
Okay.
So can you just walk me through like what you've done in public service before? I
Okay.
know you worked for Schiller, obviously, that everyone's
Right,
talking
and I was I was a director of community affairs for Congressman Bobby Rush.
Okay.
I started off with, well, actually, I was an activist in Youngstown, Ohio, and then I moved to Chicago and had no clue that's where I was going to end up at, and I ended up doing the same thing that I was doing in Youngstown.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with Alderman Schiller in '89.
Mm-hmm.
I was recruited from Congressman Bobby Rush in '94. I was recruited back to Alderman Schiller's office in '96.
Okay. Okay, and then were you with Schiller until
Yeah,
took over?
yes,
Okay.
until she retired.
I say, and how did you end up coming to Chicago then, from Youngstown?
Well, it was sort of a divorce, and and Youngstown is small.
Mm-hmm.
I have a best friend that's here. When we were from kindergarten all the way through high school, we went to airline school together and modeling school.
Mm-hmm.
We both were too young to fly. So Trink is what I call her. Her real name is Tina. She just got married, so it's Tina Love. She came here and she started working for Amtrak. I stayed in Youngstown and got married. But every year, this would be my vacation spot. So after going through my divorce, she was like, "Get up here, girl. You love Chicago. Get up here. You can make it." And I'm like, you know, I don't know. I have 2 babies, and you can do this. You can do this. So she allowed me to stay with her for 6 months until I got here the first week I got a job. I'm a medical secretary by trade.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at St. Joe's part-time and then Weiss part-time, and then Weiss hired me full-time. And my first apartment was 4550 North Clarendon. So I went back to school, Catherine College. I wanted to kind of get out of the medical field and go more into administrative type, downtown type atmosphere. And I did do that, and I ended up landing a job that I was there doing my college work study as Executive Associates, which was our architect firm. My son at the time was in elementary school, and I had a couple of concerns because the teacher was telling me don't let him go to a ride, and I'm like, so where should he go? And the several schools that they were talking about, he would have to get on a bus and go. I'm like, that's not fair. If the school is around the corner, then it's incumbent upon me to make that school work or find out why it's not working. I'm not going to send my child on a bus or a plane or a train to go to school and then have to come home, and I wasn't going to do that. So as I was thinking about it, he had brought a young child home with him to do homework. And the babies, his S's were backwards, his sentences weren't complete. And I was really concerned, and I'm thinking at this time, maybe I ought to go back to Youngstown. And a day later, up under my door came a flyer. Do you care about your child's education? If so, come to Truman College. They were having a speak out. And it was the same time that the local school councils had just started up. They were starting to get people motivated to run for that office.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Truman.
Sorry, do you remember what year this was?
It had to be 89, because that's when I started with Helen.
Okay.
So it had to be roughly about 89.
And do you remember how old your son was at this point? Or?
He was in the 5th grade, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he
I
was in the
just want to
5th
make sure I
grade.
have
It's okay.
it. Yeah.
And I went and I spoke out.
Mm-hmm.
The next day at work, I got a phone call. Because, when you go and you sign in, your home, your address, your home phone number, your work phone number. And I got a call from someone saying, do you like your job? And I'm like, stop playing with me. I have 2 children I have to take care of. What is this about? Yada, yada, yada. And they said, well, the alderman is interested in talking to you about a position. She really liked what you had to say. And I went, what is an alderman? Because we call them councilmen in Ohio. So I met with her. I let it be known it had to be after I got off of work, and they were willing to wait till and I was on public transportation. I walked in her office, and I met with her, and I took the job because, number one, I could save money not getting on the L, and I could be in the community with my children.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't have to, leave to, go downtown. So I thought it was like, this is perfect. I could stay at home, be with my son, help him with his homework, go over to a ride and make sure it's okay. And I did run for local school council and won. And I've been at it ever since.
And what school was your son in?
At that time, he was in a ride. Now he's graduated with the second master's. I'm sorry, ARAI.
Okay.
Joan Arai. Joan Efferai.
Okay. Fine.
Joan Efferai.
Joan Efferai.
Right.
Okay. You said now he has 2 masters.
Now it's called Uplift. The school is called Uplift.
Okay.
They changed the name.
Right. So that's kind of how you got started with Scheller.
Right.
And then, were you her chief of staff? Is that right?
Yeah.
Were you always, or?
No, I started off as her assistant.
Okay.
I remember that there was, and I want to say 91 or 92,
Mm-hmm.
there was a big concern on Sheridan Road. It was like the 4000 block of North Sheridan Road, where there was a lot of prostitution that was going on, and a lot of drug usage in terms of hypodermic needles and things of that. And AIDS was prevalent at that time, and people, was a big discussion about it, and the numbers were going up, and Uptown had high numbers, of HIV or AIDS virus and the whole ball of wax, and people were complaining, that they would come home from work and in their alcoves people would be having sex, and so I'm like, and this one lady said to me when she called, she says, you don't even have to be a prostitute. You could just walk down the street and somebody will try to solicit you. So I said, that's interesting, supply and demand. So I didn't even dress like a prostitute or nothing. I had a 3-piece suit on. I had a fake white fur coat on. I put AIDS, literature in one pocket. I put condoms in another pocket. And I walked down Sheridan Road. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, a car stopped and asked me how much. Mm-hmm. And I said, how much? And I looked and I could tell he was from a suburb. Mm-hmm. And I saw a wedding ring. And I went, oh, how much? And I walked over to the driver's side. I said, I noticed that you're married. How much do you love your wife? Do you know about AIDS? And I started pulling out literature. And I started pulling out condoms. And it freaked him out. So it kind of went viral before viral came out. You know what I'm saying? It went like, the Sun Times, the Trib heard about it. Larry King Live heard about it. They did articles on it, and I ended up in Women's World magazine about it. Mm-hmm. And they stopped coming to that area because they didn't want to be approached by me, because at that point, the decision was made, if we catch you out here, we're going to, tell your wife, impound your car, so they were afraid to come to that area. So ultimately, the prostitution stopped in that area. Mm-hmm. So that was one of my first big victories. I thought, I was pretty proud of it. And, then it goes on and on to other things that I would do, like if it was a fire, and like in the winter, it's cold. People are running out with their blankets on, no shoes, no clothes. So, I made sure that the Red Cross was there. Yeah, I made sure CTA was there as a warming bus. I had made friends with a lot of the building owners and managers of apartment buildings. The last big fire was on Malden, and I want to say it was in 2006 maybe. I could be wrong on that. But it was in the middle of the night. It was mostly college students. It was on the 4500 block of North Malden. And I was there in my pajamas at 2 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. I ran home and put some jeans on. I went to the office by 7. I'm looking up phone numbers to start calling people because I want to make real change, not to have them like go to a hotel for a couple of days. What can you do for these guys? You know, they need housing, they need it now, they need to be stable now. You don't have stability, you don't have anything, to me.
Mhm.
So I was able to, 95% of the people that was in that building had housing, where different landlords had either waived the first month's rent and security deposit and or both. Heartland Alliance allowed me to become one of their agents so I could do the Homeless Prevention Fund and get first month's rent, security deposit, if you were behind in your rent, if you were behind in your mortgage. You know, I was able to get that and get you caught up so you won't be evicted, or in this case, so you would have money, you know, to move to another location if the landlord had not waived that deposit. So it's sort of like, for me, I put myself in a position like, I wonder if that was me. How would I want to be treated? And so I do what I do because I put myself in everybody else's shoes.
So what year then did you move up to be chief of staff?
In 99.
99. Okay, so a couple years after you came back then,
Yeah.
working for
Mhm.
Rush. Okay. And then, yeah, just moving forward, I guess a lot of people are just wondering, you know, why you decided that you wanted to run for alderman now, this year, or, well, not this year, but
As opposed to right after Helen retired? Is that
or
what
I
you're
guess
saying?
just in general, like, why did you decide to throw your name in? I mean, why is it important to you?
I have a passion.
Mhm.
And my passion is to bring services to the people. And contrary to popular belief, we were number one in the city in terms of city services that we brought to the people.
Mhm.
If I found out that something was free, it came to our office. If I found out that, for instance, Secretary of State Jesse White has a mobile unit,
Mhm.
well, you know, some of our seniors who needed their ID or their ID for the rest of their lives, you know, were able to come to the office as opposed to try to go on Elston or downtown. Some of our young people, you know, and everybody in between. It was very convenient. New people who moved into the ward, they didn't have to have the headache of going downtown or on Elston. They can come right to the alderman's office and get their change of address. So I had the mobile unit there every other month.
Mhm.
The line would be down the street and around the corner. The food depository that I still do every third Wednesday of the month, been doing it for the past 12 years. The numbers are greater. And it's not just poor people. It's people from every walk of life.
Mhm.
Young people who've lost their jobs, you know, things of that nature.
And sorry, where is the food depository?
It's at Uptown Baptist
Uptown
Church.
Baptist, that's what I
And
thought.
it's the Greater Chicago Food Depository.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I had that right. That's what I had in my notes, but I wanted
Yeah.
to double check, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, and other things, you know, we had the Uptown Summerfest that was really huge, Uptown Unity Summerfest, that brought everybody together, the cultures together. And I think that's the key. The diversity is awesome, you know, and just for me to, you know, have a friend who's doesn't look like me or come from a different background, to learn from them and to share with them, to me is the beauty of Uptown. And I believe in my heart that's why the majority of people do move to Uptown, is the diversity. It's wonderful, it's beautiful. I want to say, if it's not still true today, that we are the most diverse community in the United States. I thought it was a borough in New York at one point, but then I found out actually it was Uptown. It's like a melting pot. It's like where everybody comes.
Mhm.
And, you know, I just think that's very key.
Said that, yeah, you have a passion to bring things like that back. Do you think they're not happening under Kappelman?
Let
or-
me just say this to you, and I'm not gonna do a smear campaign. That's not in my nature. No matter what anybody says, that's not me. But people used to be able, for instance, to walk past our window and not even come in. Just stand there for an hour and read the window for the information that was on the window.
Mhm.
You walk past there now and you just see a name. I've been told it's not inviting. You have to embrace the whole breadth of the community. You have to hear all the voices. And I don't think that's being done.
Mhm. So what voices do you think aren't being heard right now then?
I think that a lot of seniors
Mhm.
have not been heard. I think young people have not been heard. I think you have to include everyone. You can't make a decision and you make that decision. You have to bring it to the people it's going to directly affect.
Mm-hmm.
And for instance, if I wanted to put a stop sign on a particular block, I wouldn't just do it because you called and you had a concern. I would first do a survey and see what the masses of people or the people that was going to be directly affected in that particular area. I would definitely make sure that their voices were heard, and whatever came out of that democratically, that's how I would do it, good, bad, or indifferent.
And you don't think that's the process that's happening?
Unless I've been living in my apartment for 14 years, I have yet got a survey.
So wait, you still don't live in Clarendon, do you? Or
No.
Okay.
I live on Racine and Montrose,
okay.
and I've been there for 14 years.
Okay, but you said right now you work over in this side of town, or?
Right now I
Okay.
work. Right now I do the same thing practically.
Okay.
I'm a service coordinator for
Okay.
people who are mentally challenged, adults that are mentally challenged. I
Okay.
bring services to them.
Okay, and what company do you work for now?
I
or-
work for Prairie Management,
How do I spell that?
Prairie,
Prairie,
PR,
okay.
yeah, but I work for Habilitative Systems. I'm Prairie Management Service Coordinator for Habilitative Systems.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you were elected, like, what would you do differently, or what would you want to institute right away?
Right away, I would like to. Oh, it's so much, man. I got so many people in my head right now. The first thing I would want to do is get out there and deal with these young people, deal with the young people. I would have to make sure that they had choices and resources. You cannot just say that they're standing on the corner and you're gang members. You can't say that. You have to find out why they're out there and fight for choices and resources for them. And I've done that in the past, and that's one thing I would definitely bring back. I've done that in the past. And secondly, I would make sure that our seniors, the services that we had for our seniors was implemented. There's a lot of things that, seniors need and request, and it's so convenient when they know that they can call the Alderman's office, or even I would go there. I would sit in their homes. I would listen to them. One day I'm going to be a senior. I want somebody to hear me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you sort of like you treat people the way you want to be treated. You give back what people have given to you. Never take anything for granted.
So those are two major ones. Actually, you kind of touched on one of the things I wanted to ask about. So in Uptown in recent weeks, everyone's been kind of, I don't want to say freaking out, but kind of freaking out about all the violence. There have been a couple fatal shootings, a couple critical shootings.
Absolutely.
And that's just a huge topic. And the current alderman is, sending out all these blasts about him all the time, like constantly, sending things out whenever people get arrested. Like, he just seems to be really on top of that. And he's been criticizing the police a lot, that there's not enough police there. I'm basically just wondering what's your take on the violence and what you would do.
Well, you know what? Putting out blasts is not going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Being a foot soldier is going to help a lot of people. Every single one of those shootings, I knew someone. Every single one of them. And I could take you back to 1994 when my daughter got shot in the arm. So for me, it's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. For me, it's trying to figure out what is the issue, where is it coming from, and how can we resolve it. We had summits for young people to have speak outs with the police department there. Whether they were speaking out against one another or whether they were speaking out a particular entity, but at least their voices were heard. We have got mothers together that we know whose children are at risk. And we've sat down and worked out a plan. Mothers literally going out to get their children. Groups of mothers if the child was a little hard-headed. That stuff is not happening right now. we would have meetings. If I was mad at you and you were mad at me, we would have a mediator come in and sit and say, okay, your issue is this and your issue is that. How can we work this out? We might not be able to agree on everything, but at least we could leave there knowing that, you know, I'm not going to agree with you and you're not going to agree with me all 100%, but we can leave there with the understanding at least, okay, we're going to move on. We're going to move further. We're going to go past this. We're going to resolve this. That has not happened. If it has, my phone wouldn't be jumping off the hook. When the shooting happened at the 6 people that were shot on Uptown Baptist Church, I was in a conference in Indianapolis. My phone was jumping off the hook. I had to leave that particular part of the conference to go out in the hallway and talk to different people from all over Uptown about what's going on, Miss Davis, what's going on, Miss Davis, what's going on. I'm not going to sit out here and I'm not going to say, he's a gangbanger. He's a known gangbanger. The 6 people that were on the steps that got shot, that just got finished eating dinner because they were homeless, have known gang affiliations. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. I'm not going to paint a broad brush. I never have and I never will. I don't believe in that. I think that we'll be able to resolve things, but we have to do it collectively. No one person can do it together. And no one person can, you know, act like I'm Superman and get the job done. It's not going to happen. And the police department is fantastic. Fantastic. I was up under 6 different commanders. Respected every single one of them. Worked with every single one of them. I remember I was determined to have a block party and they had been shooting crazy. And the commander was like, you know, I really wish you wouldn't do this. No, sir, we cannot hide from this. We gotta be, if we let them take over, then they're gonna take over. We have to be out there. The commander showed up to get a hot dog, and I looked at him, and he looked like a homeless person and just winked his eye at me to let me know he was there, just in case. Mm-hmm. And that block party went on, and we had a fantastic time. That's what the Unity Fest was about, that I gave every year that got bigger and better. It brought everybody together. The last one we had before Truman made his transition with the Wilson Yard Pizza Project and with Larry McKeon securing the funding for the parking lot and Truman as a whole. We had guys from Clarendon that came down to Truman because we had it in the mall area, and they were part of the rap contest, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. We included everybody. It's not just, Ms. Davis, why they do everything over there and we don't get it? No, we included everyone with a commitment that nothing would happen. Your word is your bond. Your word is your bond. I raised 2 children here. My son has 2 master's degrees. He's getting ready to open up his 4th daycare. He's a daycare provider in Uptown, focusing on healthy eating and exercising. And his babies are from all walks of life. And a lot of the children he have is some of his friends who are now incarcerated, to make sure they grew up to be responsible young men and young women. His staff is second to none. So Uptown is in our blood. Uptown is a part of us.
Okay, and what's the name of the daycare?
Seeds of Joy.
You said he has 4 of them, or he's opening with 4?
He has a home daycare in the 4000 block of North Sheridan.
Okay.
He's getting ready to have his grand opening at 850 West Eastwood. My understanding, just secured the daycare at Pensacola Place. And he's in the process of working on his 4th one, which he hasn't etched in stone. He would get really mad at me if I said, and he's also got this, but those 3 he has.
Okay. And then your daughter, what did she do?
My daughter went back to Youngstown to help my grandmother. I was going to go back home, and she said, no, I'm going to go help Gram. We lost her 2 years ago, and my daughter got the house, and she's in nursing.
Okay, makes sense. And coming back to what you said earlier, you said the police do a great job, or
Yeah, they
really
do.
good police
They
department.
do.
Something that I was curious about, I just keep bringing it up, is since you are running a
No.
government budget until he got more police. Like, what's your
They
take on
just
all of
hired
that?
125 more police officers.
Right.
And the reality is, whether you want to believe it or not, but you can look up the stats, and the stats are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that, yes, Uptown has a share of crime, but it's nowhere near the south and the west side of town.
Mm-hmm.
And when they deploy those officers, the majority of those officers are going to go to where the majority of the crime is at. Contrary to popular belief, Uptown is one of the areas that have the lowest amount of crime in the whole city of Chicago. And they're going to say, she's crazy, she's this. The truth is the light. I have no reason to lie.
So the truth is the light?
Yes.
Just to make sure I have it right.
And I wouldn't, I mean, you don't rage up or rally up because you don't get your way. You don't act like a 5-year-old. You sit down and you dialogue. And you come to some kind of an agreement. And it might not be everything you want, it might not be everything I want, but at least we can leave the table with something that we both can live with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the answer, not going to vote.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes sense. Satan, something that you had mentioned on the phone is that you really were trying to distance yourself from Schiller, or, show the differences, or I wasn't sure what you were saying.
No, well, she could speak on that.
Yeah.
About the comparison of you and Schiller.
I mean, people are going to associate you with her.
And
off
of
the
course
bat.
they are.
Yeah.
I 23 years with the woman, why wouldn't they? However, my name is Denice Davis. I am not Helen Schiller.
Mm-hmm.
I am a totally different person. Helen Schiller was my employer.
Mm-hmm.
I was her employee. I did my job and I did it well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Helen was great, but she's retired now. My name is Denice Davis. I'm my own woman, my own person. I have my own thoughts. I'm not, here rallying around for one particular group. I'm rallying around for the people in the Uptown, period. If anything comes out of this, I'm not going to be at home when I'm 80 years old talking about, I wonder, shoulda, if I woulda, if I coulda. I'm going to know that at least I tried.